you have no idea how good you're going to be at something until you give it a try.
Talking about back to work, you got your CPA license, you worked as a controller, and then after that, you moved to be a staffing executive at Robert Half. It's a very different position. Can you share why did you make that move?
Yes, I had worked with for the home builder for a long time. It actually moved me from Charlotte up to Washington, D.C. So I had gotten a promotion to move to D.C. in a controllership position. And then I had moved into actually new home sales and did that for a while. And that gave me two very different skill sets. It gave me the operations and accounting skill set and the ability to sell something. And I took those two skill sets together. And when I worked for Robert Half, I was not in a traditional recruiting role. I was in the role where you help clients who have a long-term need to fill, and you provide them, we had full-time employees at Robert Half, and you provide them with someone full-time on a project basis. So it was very much a consultative selling approach. A client will come to you, you understand what their problem is, and you say, here's the person I have on the bench, or here are the few people I have on the bench that can help you solve your problem and fill your need. I did that for a very short period of time, which I think you and I have acknowledged in our conversations. That was a short stint for me, but it opened my eyes to outsourced accounting, which is where I spent a lot of my career, particularly over the last 15 years. And outsource is a very nice blend for a lot of people who started their career in public, because you get that variety you came to enjoy when you are in public. However, you're having a little bit more of an impact than you are as an auditor or a tax professional, because you're there throughout the year. It's not project-based work. And so outsource was, it was a great role for a lot of people. It was certainly a great space for me.
I believe a lot of CPA firms now take advantage of using outsource, using not just in US, in India, in Philippines, in all different countries. That's amazing.
It is. And I did very little client work, although I was lucky enough in my first outsource firm that I worked for, it was more of a boutique firm. So it was a little bit smaller. So I was the chief operating officer and helping to grow that firm. We doubled that firm during my time there, which was a lot of work, really gratifying, impactful work. But I had 4 clients as well as being the COO. And one of those clients was the U.S. Soccer Foundation. And as a college soccer player, and I was still playing at the time, I was still playing recreationally at the time that I worked for the foundation, I can't think of a better place to contribute to the mission, to contribute to the growth. The foundation grew tremendously when I was there. We diversified revenue. We put so much innovation in place. The programs team developed new programs. We met so many people and expanded our footprint and our impact when I was there. And the foundation is still doing that. I like to say, and this is a self-appointed position, that I'm the foundation's favorite alum. I'm not. Everyone who worked for the foundation is the foundation's favorite alum. But it was just such an amazing place to work and to bring my skill set in to help them grow. Really one of my favorite career pieces.
You played soccer for a long period of time.
I did.
Do you still play now?
I don't. I retired at 40, which is a few years ago now. Your body will tell you when it's time that you can no longer do the things you could in your youth, and mine let me know. But I still watch the game. I'm a season ticket holder here for our local MLS team. And I'm such a big believer in how sports really shape a person and how they can, impact your career your choices, your relationships, just everything.
Since you love soccer that much, and you work at the U.S. Soccer Foundation as the Vice President of Finance Administration.
Yep.
Why did you decide to leave that job and become the Chief Operating Officer at Volt Consulting?
It's a great question, because it was such an emotional place for me to work, and I was so tied into the impact that the foundation was making. I mentioned the foundation grew tremendously. I was there a total of 8 years, something like 5 as a fractional outsourced CFO, and then 3 as the full-time vice president of finance. The reason I came on board is because a fractional part-time role would no longer work, because the organization really needed to grow. And so for that period of time, they needed me there full-time. And so I came in and we did a lot of automation. We did a lot of integration of systems, new accounting system. There was a new CRM. There was a new scheduling system. You name it, we implemented it. And there was also the need to set up everything internally to be a government grant, federal funding recipient. They have significantly different requirements for how you handle a program and how you handle funding. And so we got that done over that 3-year period. And at that point, the executive director, the president and CEO, and I had a conversation where we were both comfortable with my recommendation to move that role back to a fractional role. And so it grew for a period of time when it was needed. And then it was the best thing for the organization to move it back to a fractional role, which is still actually how it sits today. They continue to outsource their accounting. So at that point, I had reached out to Vault, which is the company I had worked for about 5-6 years. They were also in the same position that the foundation had been in. They were at a certain size. They knew what it took to operate at that size, and they were looking to grow. And so we came in and we did strategic planning and we did organizational transformation. And I had the opportunity to lead so many initiatives for the organization, as well as to continue public speaking and networking. And so that was really what inspired that change, was that foundation was okay. And I wanted to take what I knew and liked and was good at and do it somewhere else.
Because you move around, I would say 5 to 8 years, you move to another company. And normally people, after working at a certain period of time at one company, they like to stay. They like what they do to be stable, to be the same in public, not every the same, but kind of consistent. Each time you move, you have to start making yourself get used to the new environment, new people, new working routine. How did you feel each time you moved to different jobs?
Energized, excited, motivated. I love working with different people. I really love solving problems. I enjoy collaborating with others on where we are today. Let's identify that, and let's define where we want to be, and how do we create the plan to get there. You introduced me as I am a change enthusiast, right? I'm a strategic planning expert. I help people navigate through change. And to your point that you just made, a lot of people don't chase change. They will handle it when it comes to them, right? We told that story already too. But there have to be a certain percentage of the population who are initiating change, who are chasing change, who are facilitating change, because the world demands it, right? Especially today. I've heard some statistics, and these are undocumented statistics, but I like to share them because I think the visual is really good. The pace of change today and the number of innovations that happen in a 12-month period for us, so 1 year, are just as much in volume or potentially greater than 100 years ago what happened in a decade. And so if you think pre-industrial revolution, how many patents or how many new innovations occurred in 10 years, that's now what we see happening in 12 months. And so the pace of change has just accelerated. And I think AI is probably going to ratchet that up potentially to an even faster pace. And we've already seen that, how much it's changing and disrupting. And we all need to take the time to work through that and to work through it together, to get comfortable with it, to embrace it, and to use it to the best of our advantage.
I have to say that I have two different feelings whenever it comes to change. I work at my previous firm and I was like, I didn't want to change at all. I just try to find my next move in my career. I want to stay there. I like the people. I like the working environment. But then because we move and then we're going to have a big change, I was like, I'm young. I'm not that aged. Like, people like, oh, I want to stay at the same job after like long period of time. Like, I'm going to change. But when it comes, I have to tell you that it's scary.
It is. It is. And guess what else? You have all the tools that you need to not only handle it, but to handle it beautifully. And you're going to learn from it and you're going to grow because of it. You're moving all the way across the country, right? From left coast to east coast.
Yes.
It's exciting. I'm excited for you. And I believe, much like a few of the stories I've shared with you, in 20 years from now, when you look back, there are going to be some critical life lessons that you learn because of this major change that are going to shape how you look at things and how you make choices and how you advise others going forward. Right? We all grow through change. And it shapes us and it becomes part of our superpower, which is our unique lived experience. So I'm excited for you, Rosie. I know it's scary, but you're gonna do great.
I'm looking forward to it as well. It's very exciting, but a little bit nervous there.
It's okay.
Talking about changes, and after become a COO at Volt Consulting, you become the board of directors at GWSCPA.
Yes.
Can you share a bit of experience about that?
Yeah, so that is the Greater Washington Society of CPAs. It's the state society that sits inside of Washington, D.C. So it serves the D.C. metro community. It is one of 55 state societies. I know we only have 50 states, so there are a few that are separate, or like the GWSCPA, several members from Maryland and Virginia state societies are also members of the Greater Washington Society. The Greater Washington Society really strongly serves the nonprofit market and industry sector, as well as the government contracting industry sector, because they are so concentrated inside the Beltway or in the DC metro area. So I've been involved with the GWSCPA for 15 years. I actually just went to my 15th consecutive Greater Washington Society annual symposium, which is every year in December. I had the pleasure of speaking, actually hosting a panel this past December. It was just a great experience, and so nice to be back, right? Because I've moved. In the last 3 years, I moved outside of DC. And I loved being on the board. I had the honor of being a board member during the Society's centennial. Not very many organizations can say that they have been successfully making an impact in their communities for 100 years. Many less people can say that they were on the board during that celebration. So it's been such a wonderful organization for me to be involved with. I also chaired the Women's Committee for 2 years and chaired the Women's Conference. And last year we had the opportunity to really bring it back fully in person. And it's nice because I still sit on the committee and I'm watching what this year's chairs are doing and how they're approaching conference. And much like everything else, they've learned from what we did in the past. They're adjusting, they're making it bigger and better. They're bringing in technology. It's just really cool to see the evolution of that organization. And not only that committee, with some of the other committees, and watching them innovate and grow. Right? What CPAs want out of their state society is much different now than it was 4 years ago. And it's certainly different than it was 10 years ago. And so getting to be a part of that has been just really fulfilling.
That's exciting that you do so much more than just work. It's not just your job, it's your career. You really passionate about that. You have a lot of speaking events. And going back to networking that you mentioned a lot during our conversation, how important it is to go out and attend networking events. And now I know that you're also one of two, the co-founder of Chief.
I am a member of Chief. And that is a women's professional networking organization. And that has been, I'm not sure the best way to say this. Chief has seen amazing growth over the last 5 years since they started. I think that they began in some of the flagship cities here in the US, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and expanded into DC, Atlanta, Miami, and they of course have expanded here into Charlotte. And so I was a founding member of DC. I was one of the first 3,000 members. We now have 20,000 members, which is incredible. Where it's different for me is I am so accustomed to people in the accounting industry because that's my industry. While I might not do traditional accounting every day, I'm still part of this community. And what Chief has done is introduced me to people, women, executives who do different things and work in different industries. It has been inspiring to see how they approach things. I met a woman early on with Chief who works in sustainable fashion and making sure that our clothes don't end up in landfills, or that the chemicals in our clothes aren't negatively impacting our atmosphere. Before Chief, I had no idea that was even a role, or I just took for granted that was or wasn't happening. Also had the opportunity to meet a woman who she works in the healthcare system on efficiency in operating rooms, and had her talk through me a study they did to go into the operating room to make it more efficient, to put all of the tools and equipment that the surgeons and the staff needed in a more optimal layout to reduce the time in the OR so that they could help more people in shorter time. To take those two experiences and to apply them back to what I do every day, it just gets you thinking, right? It supplies innovation for you from something you never would have thought of. And so that has been, that for me has been just a great part of being a member of Chief.
So how can people involved in this organization? Is there a website they can register? And what is the membership like?
So specific to Chief, not GWSCPA. So I would say for any of your state societies, if you're an accountant, you can go straight to their websites and find membership information. For Chief, it is interview style, membership acceptance. I believe that there's information on the website, and it is solely focused on women who win director level positions and above. And it's a great community for those of us who have gained a little further in our careers, to network with one another and to collaborate outside of our industries.
That's amazing. And you also mentioned that you decide to retire at the age of 40, and then you start your firm names True 9.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about number 9, we did have this conversation before about why you choose number 9, but I would love to hear that story again for our audience to understand about the number.
Absolutely. And while I might have retired from the game at 40, the game is still a huge part of me, and will always be a tremendous set of foundations and fundamentals of how I approach my day to day. So a true 9 is a player on the soccer field who is responsible for making sure the ball gets in the goal. That is the easiest way to describe it. So the person who is the true 9 is not only responsible for scoring goals, but in the situations where they are not able to do that, they're leading their teammates in the efforts to get that done. And so as a strategy consultant and as a change consultant, it is my role and my responsibility for my clients, and when I'm doing public speaking for the audience, to make sure that I am the one who's focused on the goal, the end goal, whatever it is that that particular group is focused on. We are here, we've defined where we are, and the goal is where we need to be. And in my role as the principal consultant at True 9, I am the 9. I am the one who is making sure that I'm doing everything that I can with my experience to shepherd the rest of the group through to the goal.
I feel like this company is just a combination of your CPA experience, your passion in accounting, and also your passion in soccer. It's just a great combination of everything in your life at this time. And literally, it sounds like you just do what you love right now. Enjoy it and just take the best moment every day.
I appreciate that observation and thank you. That's a compliment to me. And I never imagined that I'd be an entrepreneur. I really didn't. And I think when we talk about career journey and your career choices, I would caution people to not say, I have to stay in this lane because I chose this lane. There will be so many opportunities for you to take your skill set, your foundation, your fundamentals, and potentially apply them to something else. You have no idea how good you're going to be at something until you give it a try. And yes, to your point, there are some things in change that are a little bit scary. You're not sure of when you're walking into something that's new or unknown. But we have the skill sets, or we have the fundamentals to tackle it. You just have to apply what we've been through to the new thing that you're looking at. And it's been great for me. I know it's wonderful for other people too, but be open to those possibilities. Be open to applying your skill set to different roles.
Different roles. I would say that different roles in not just your career, in your life as well. I believe being a mom in your career could be a challenging point because you have to balance your life and also balance your job at the same time. How was that time to you when you tried to take care of your baby at the same time, try to grow in your career as well?
So I can't answer that. I don't have kids of my own. That was not something that was in the cards for me. And so I have watched a lot of women balance that. I certainly acknowledge that it is a challenge, and it takes a lot of people to help women who are moms to navigate their career, particularly during those early years when the children from both their parents are going to need a little bit more time. They're not self-sufficient yet. I am fortunate enough where I have 2 big step kids. I met them when they were teenagers, and one of them wants to major in accounting. So yes. Yay for the pipeline. I take no credit. I thought he was going to be a marketing major, and he took intro to accounting, and he ended up really enjoying it and understanding it and seeing the value in it, not only in the world, but also for him. And so that's his major, and excited to see where it's going to take him.
Wow, we go through a lot of stepstones in your career, and I was wondering if you can share some tips that you think it could be very beneficial for people who just start their journey in the accounting profession.
Yeah, I would say find what's important to you. Understand what type of role or what type of organization fuels your motivation. Otherwise, you are just going maybe through the motions, or you're just having a job. They'll understand what is impactful to you and focus on it. Don't be afraid when the curveball comes or when the unexpected happens. It is coming. I can promise you that. If it hasn't happened yet, it is going to happen to each of us. And it will happen multiple times, right? Life is unpredictable. Every day is unpredictable. But certainly, your career will be unpredictable, and what the universe has in store for you, you can handle it. You have the experience to handle it. And even if it's something new, like we just talked about, all of your experiences give you the fundamentals to take on whatever challenge or whatever curveball has been thrown at you. And I think also give back. Get involved with your state society, join a board. If there's a nonprofit in your area that can benefit from your time, your energy, your expertise, whatever it may be, give back. And you'd be surprised the relationships that you will get from that piece, from the being involved in your community piece, because it will introduce you to people that you wouldn't have met otherwise.
Oh, yes. I absolutely agree about that. I love the state society I'm in right now, CPA. That's amazing. They brought a lot of different aspects in my career in the past, and now I just loved working with them more and more, what I can do with them. Even I'm going to move out of California. I still want to be involved with California State Society. It's just a lot of benefits you can get when you mentioned about giving back to the society, involving with the state society. You can meet different people, and then you build relationship. Now talking about relationship, you and I, we didn't know each other before at all. Just because I did a podcast and then I post on my LinkedIn, and then you reach out to me, and now we have this interview. That's just amazing how this podcast takes me to get to know people, to build my relationship. But you also have a podcast. I would love to hear about that.
I do. So I had mentioned earlier that I'm currently working on my doctorate. And so I'm getting my doctorate of business administration. It is a full terminal degree, and you can do it usually in 3 to 4 years, depending on the program. So I'm a student at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte in their DBA program, and I am just about at the 2/3 mark. So I will graduate in May of 2025. So I'm very excited about that. Through that process, 2 of my classmates and I identified a place where we could bring the DBA into the world, into industry, to enhance its role and its reputation, or even just awareness of it. A lot of people aren't aware that the DBA exists. They think it's PhD and that's all. So we developed a podcast. It is the only DBA focused podcast. Like, there are several PhD podcasts. We have the only one focused on DBA. We launched in November. As of now, we have been able to drop an episode every other Thursday. And we've also started a blog on the middle Thursdays. So we're pushing out content every week. And we're getting guests from different DBA programs. Some of them are in administration, some of them are current students, some of them are alum, to tell the story of how transformative the DBA has been for them, whether it has led them to have a better understanding in their industry, whether it's a career change, or just how it's impacted them, so that we can bring the DBA to more people. It's been a lot of fun. It has been very interesting to meet these people. And like you just said, even if you know your guests before they come on, you learn so much about them. Through an interview.
That's amazing.
It was unexpected. 12 months ago, DBA Chronicles, which is the name of our podcast, didn't exist. And now it does. And we've had the opportunity probably to meet close to 75 people through it. So it's been really fun and unexpected.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Podcasts are great.
Yeah. I cannot believe that through this podcast, I can learn so many stories. And as being a CPA, people share their CPA stories, show people what this profession is like, and just encourage people just come and join with us.
Yes.
We need people.
Yes. Your career is not going to be linear. I mean, it's not going to be a straight line. It more than likely won't be predictable. And as much as you set your goals and you set your intentions, there's a lot to learn from the stories that we all have, regardless of how many years we've been at it or what we've done. I think everybody has a unique story and a lesson that we can learn from talking to them.
I absolutely agree with you about that. I personally learned so much from each interview I have on my podcast. It's not just for my audience, it's also for myself as well too, for my career growth and also for my personal growth as well on every single aspect of my life. I couldn't say enough how beneficial it is. Or even it's free. Even I don't make any money from it. But I have got so much from all of my YouTube videos, of my podcast. And yes, I would say that I always tell people that it's not because you do it for free that you don't get anything from it. It's just like you bring back to your community, you go to volunteer, you volunteer your time, your money, but you get a lot back to yourself than just time and money for that. But thank you so much for the interview today. I really appreciate your story. It's an amazing story about changes and also about each step tone you have in your journey. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you for having me, Rosie. And I look forward to keeping in touch and hearing all about your move.
Thank you. That's exciting, but again, a little bit scary, a little bit nervous, but I'm looking forward to it. Everything will be fine.
Yes, it will.